As a teenager, I fell in love with German. It was a beautiful language to my ears, and I wanted to speak it so much. But I didn't know anyone who I could practice with, and most of the time, German felt very hard if I didn't say anything aloud. At the time, I didn't have any recording machines or anything to listen to my voice, so I would talk to the mirror. We are very lucky that nowadays we don't need to talk to the mirror anymore if we don't want to, but you can do that if you want. I am going to talk a little bit about a simple exercise that you can use to practice your languages or your language, depending on what language you're learning or how many. And as always, I am Eli, your language teacher and enthusiast, with practical and applicable tips and advice for learning languages. Today, we're going to talk about the power of recording yourself. And it's exactly what it sounds. It's recording yourself. Very, very simple. You can read texts aloud. You can describe images. You can answer questions that you prepared before recording. And you can even have a monologue on a chosen topic. The most important thing here is to record your speech so you can listen back to it later. This is a very good method for you to develop some awareness and other things that we're going to talk about in a minute. But before you say, I really want to tackle this first. Before you say, oh, but my pronunciation is not good, here's one thing. We have the pronunciation that we can produce, that our muscles in the mouth can produce, and we have the pronunciation that is ideal in our mind. You can think of it as a platonic idea. You know, you have the ideal image and you have the copies in the real world. That's what pronunciation is. So, even though you may not have developed the right muscles to produce the sounds, your mind has an ideal sound for everything. So, trust yourself. You will be able to learn the language in this way very quickly, or at least practice a little bit, because there are many benefits to practicing through recording yourself. First, it will increase your self awareness. When you listen to the recordings that you made, you become more aware of your speech patterns, pronunciation issues, and areas of improvement. Sometimes you'll see that you may resort to the same phrase always, like me. When I speak, I know that I say, for example, a lot. This is a speech habit that I adopted, but at first it was involuntary. So I didn't really notice it at first, but I listened to myself talking, and then I would say, oh, I repeat that a lot. I should be more aware of it. Pronunciation also helps, like, because when you listen to yourself, you'll catch those pesky mistakes that you might make. Me as a Brazilian, I make lots of mistakes in English as well, although my pronunciation can sometimes trick people for 3 to 4 seconds. It's very easy to notice a few things, especially in the vowels. When you record yourself, it's also a great way to track progress. I don't know if it's true, but I heard the sentence before. Like, in the absence of any other factor or change, tracking improves performance. I do that with my writing, and I see some results there. And I do that also with exercising. I don't change anything, but I keep a log to say, today I did 20 minutes of exercise. Today I didn't do anything. And I see that the days I don't do anything are better, or are fewer now than the days that I do something. So it's a good way for you to track progress, especially if you put the dates on the recording names when you finish them. It will help you identify your weaknesses. You might notice, for example, some specific grammar points and vocabulary areas in which you make mistakes consistently. You may notice, for example, if you try and handle a monologue about something that happened in the past, you may notice that you are not handling the past tenses as well, especially if you learn a Latin language like Portuguese or Spanish or Italian, in which we have lots of tenses. So you will notice that maybe I have to practice this a little bit more, or I have to understand this a little bit more. It will help you improve your pronunciation because when you hear yourself speak, you can identify some pronunciations that might go not exactly as the models that you listen to, and you will be able to correct it. Remember, awareness is the first step. When you know what is wrong, you can correct it or you can go in the right way. And also, it will help you reduce a little bit of the anxiety when you are talking to someone else. Because when you listen to yourself and you talk, even though you say, okay, this is not a real situation, I'm talking to my phone. When I'm talking to Joãozinho or someone else, of course I'm going to make mistakes. Yeah, but your brain can handle things if it has already gone through one path. But I have to say, as we say here in Brazil, not everything is a sea of roses. So we have to take out our rose tinted glasses and see that, yeah, there are some shortcomings and problems and drawbacks to using this method. First, there is a lot of discomfort. In my case now, I am used to listening to to hearing my own voice because I have to record so many things. And if I don't hear myself, this is not going to be good. But sometimes at the beginning, I felt like, is it me? Really? Do I sound like this? And I wanted to just disappear and vanish, get out of this world. But I know this existence not so long, so I said, okay, I can handle this. But it took me about 3 years for me to get used to my own voice. So you might have that initial discomfort as well. There is some time commitment involved here. You have to devote at least 5 or 10 minutes. If it's 5 minutes to recording, it's 5 minutes to listening to it as well. But you can count on pausing and things like that. So increase that to 20 minutes. So each 5 minutes of recording, maybe 15 minutes listening to the recording back again so you can catch a few things, a few mistakes. So probably 30 minutes a day or 30 minutes each practice session. And also, it's very easy to be harsh on yourself. I know this might sound a little bit like I heard this sentence fuzzy and warm, but don't be so harsh on yourself. People are not so harsh on you. So, although sometimes in our minds we do think, oh, they're judging me. No. Most people are worried that you are judging them. So, it's very easy to be overly critical of yourself. Try and acknowledge that this is happening, and then you try to move on. You don't need to beat yourself up and say, I can't stop judging myself. No. All you need to do is, okay, I am judging myself. I may continue, even though I'm judging myself. It's easier said than done, but if you don't try, you will not see if you can actually do it. And there are also some technical aspects. Nowadays, it's much easier. In my time, we used to have those tape recorders, which were very nice, but kind of not very practical to record over the same tape again and again. But you have to guarantee that you will be able to listen to your recording easily. Record on your phone. Do it. Because you have your phone by your side most of the time, probably. If you do that on the computer, you might feel tempted to say, okay, I don't want to turn on the computer right now, so I will wait a little bit. Okay? And these are some of the problems that you might face. And how would I go about implementing this practice in my daily life? Here's what I do. Sometimes, of course, I don't use only one technique. I can mix and match. First, daily journal. You can spend 5 minutes each day at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day, recording yourself talking about your thoughts, your day, or something specific. It's very simple. It's like a journal, and record only those things that are going to be comfortable for you to listen back to. Don't try and make a therapy session in another language if you don't feel confident. Don't do that because someone else might listen to it. Second, you could read aloud, recording yourself. get a text from a book, a news article, a language learning resource. You can choose a dialogue from a textbook, for example, and you record yourself reading both parts in a dialogue, focusing on having good pronunciation. This is especially good if you are at the lower levels of proficiency, so you'll feel confident at least in reading the text. You can describe a picture. You can select an image and describe it in detail in your target language. Uh, Nowadays, it's much, much easier to do that because you can find images online and you can give yourself a time limit, maybe 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes to describe everything you see, from everything really, from the very, very small details in the background to the main subjects in the picture. You can kind of do a question and answer, and you can use AI to help you with that. You can ask AI or ChatGPT, Claude, or any one of those to write 10 questions about a specific topic for you to answer in your target language. And then you record yourself asking the question and answering them. It's a good method for you to practice for an interview or something specific that will repeat. Um, for example, when you meet someone new, when you want to ask questions about someone's job and profession, things like that. And you can also record yourself shadowing, which means you're going to talk as quickly and with the same intonation as the speaker of some other recording, and then you will record yourself. For this shadowing thing, I do recommend you to read something about shadowing or listen to our episode on it, because this requires a little bit more preparation, but this can also be very helpful. Shadowing can really be helpful for fluency, pronunciation as well. So, if you want to make the most of recording yourself for language learning, think about those things. The following. First, be consistent. Every day, every other day, 2 times or 3 times a week, you have to be consistent. It's like Romeo and Juliet. If they were very casual about their encounters, perhaps their dates would never happen and we wouldn't have that story. You have to analyze your recordings with a very kind heart. Think about that as a learning experience, not something for you to give more ammunition to shoot, but think of that as a chance for you to see how you're going. And remember, it's not for perfection, it's just to build fluency and get more comfortable in your target language. It's a great tool for you to add to your toolbox. It's not the only tool, but try and use it and tell me the results if you can. Or if you have experience with that, share it with me. And if you found this episode helpful, remember, subscribe to our podcast and leave a review. It supports me and us in general to create more valuable content and provide more motivation to learners everywhere in the world. And if you have any questions, you can always use the comment feature on Spotify or reach me on my website, nobslanguages.com. And I have been Eli, your language partner and enthusiast.